Russian President Vladimir Putin arrived in Beijing Tuesday for a rare visit. The trip is highlighting the ties between the two nations as China marks 10 years of its Belt and Road infrastructure policy. Putin's visit comes as Ukraine says it destroyed 9 Russian helicopters using long-range missiles supplied by the U.S. For more on this meeting, let's bring in Michael Swaine. He's director of the East Asia program at the Quincy Institute, a Washington think tank. Michael, thank you for being with us. What should we make of this visit to China by Vladimir Putin?
Well, I think it signifies he's coming to China in response to an invitation from Xi Jinping that was extended when Xi Jinping was in China last March. And he's coming as part of the much, much larger forum over the Belt and Road Initiative, as you said. So it's not a separate one-off major summit per se, but it is occurring at a very important time in relations between the two countries, and particularly in the context of what we're seeing going on both in Europe with the Ukraine war and, of course, now in the Middle East with Israel and the war between Israel and Hamas. So the two leaders are getting together to talk undoubtedly about those issues and about what their respective policies are towards those two problems, and also relating to that, whatever kind of mutual assistance they're going to get. Putin, I'm sure, wants to get greater Chinese assistance and support, particularly as the situation in Ukraine evolves into what looks like a stalemate, which is going to mean a protracted conflict. And Putin really is dependent on China in some ways for economic support and to some degree intelligence, military support of certain types, limited types. So he will probably want more. I should think Xi Jinping will be willing to give a certain amount, but not too much. The Chinese have tried to strike a balance in the amount of actual support that they give to Russia, to Putin over Ukraine. And then, of course, they have to deal with the question of Israel and Hamas and all of that.
Well, speaking of Israel and Hamas and all of that, how does that affect their interests? And is there a way in which their interests could diverge in the Middle East?
I don't see that really happening. Right now, I think both countries are really sort of, I think, if you want to put it very bluntly, getting a kind of mixed blessing out of the Israeli-Hamas war. On the one hand, it's certainly draining and distracting U.S. attention and resources, and that of the West as well. And both nations, both Moscow and Beijing, can use the conflict to a certain extent, appeal to elements of the global South, particularly Arab and Muslim countries. But they cannot let this conflict get out of control. Neither of them wants to see a larger war, a conflict in the Middle East with involving Iran and involving Hezbollah on the West Bank. And they don't want to go so far as alienating Israel in terms of their support for or affiliation with the Arab sentiment, which in many quarters is very strongly supportive of Hamas. So there's having to strike a kind of balance here. But I see their interests as being largely convergent on this issue. And they've made very similar statements in terms of the call for ceasefire, call for negotiations, call for an international observance of international law, et cetera. I mean, their messaging on this has been very, very, very similar. So I don't see it really causing much in the way of a rift between them at this point.
You mentioned what's in it for Russia in this meeting. What's in it for China?
Oh, for China, Russia represents, a major ally, a major partner in the economic area. It gets certain assistance from Russia in the military area, and China provides certain assistance to Russia as well. Sales to Russia are very significant. There's energy connections there. And then there's their diplomatic coordination, their cooperation in dealing with various international issues, and of course their coordination in deploying their militaries, using them in exercises in various parts of the world that shows how coordinated their positions are on the security front as well. All of this lends greater weight to Beijing's overall policies in many different areas. But China is definitely the senior partner in this relationship. Russia really is a junior partner. the extent to which it can really assist China and the extent to which China should go in assisting Russia, I think there are real limits to it because, particularly now, China really wants to see good relations, some better relations, stabilized relations with the United States. So it doesn't want to go so far in supporting Putin and supporting Russia, say in the Ukraine area, as I said, that it really does scuttle and undermine what is a very tentative but nonetheless significant movement to try to improve relations with Washington at this point.
Well, let me pick up on that then. How does China maintain that balance? And is there something that the U.S. could use, knowing that China wants to improve its relationship, specifically in economic terms with the U.S., that it can use its relationship with Russia to help U.S. interests in the Ukrainian conflict?
Well, I think there's a limited amount of leverage that the United States can exercise in terms of dealing with both China and Russia on this. I mean, the United States certainly wants to have improved relations with China, but it doesn't want to do this to the extent where it's really altering some of its policies to try to limit China's technological development, for example. There are real constraints onto how far the United States could go in trying to appeal to China to get leverage vis-a-vis Russia. There's really a limit to that at this point, I would say.
All right, Michael Swain, director of the East Asia program at the Quincy Institute. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, John.